Hey everybody, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to react to the top 20 male guitarists of all time video according to Watch Mojo. I recently was out and about on my travels and I ran into a person who told me that this list was unequivocally gospel as the greatest list of male guitar players. Now, I'm sure that my idea of great and their idea of great may be two different things. And I'm sure that my list of the top 20 greatest guitar players of all time, male or female, was going to be different than other people's. And that's fine. But it's always interesting when you see mainstream stuff and, how they formulate their opinions. Who is the arbiter of taste? Can this person actually play? Is it just solely on success as in, album sales and all this kind of stuff? But anyway, I'm interested to see this list, as somebody actually told me that, if you're not on this list, you're not one of the greats. So let's get to it. I'm sure it's going to be, whatever it is, but let's check it out. Here we go. Top 20 greatest male guitarists of all time, according to Watch Mojo. That was a little throwback humor to my new metal video. Okay, here we go. Starting out right with Angus.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 male guitarists of all time.
All right, this list has hope.
For this list, we'll be ranking the most influential and iconic musicians to pick up the guitar, taking into account their legacy and where they stand today.
Gilmore.
We'll be saving talking about the ladies who rock for a list of their own. Who are your favorite guitarists? Do you dig guitarists who shred or play it subtle? Sound off in the comments. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to check out the full song at the link below.
Alright, this video may be cooler than I thought.
Number 20, Carlos Santana.
I agree with that. Santana rules. Super high on acid, was afraid to stop playing, thought he was going to have a heart attack.
About crossover appeal, bringing a new approach to an underrepresented genre and making it feel fresh to the masses. Carlos Santana executed this brilliantly in the late 60s into the 70s when he combined Latin rhythms and melodies with jazz fusion and hard rock fire. Carlos Santana's fluid, powerful playing style is a force to be reckoned with, but his collaboration with future Journey leader Neil Schon on the band's third album would help make Santana a group of immeasurable influence.
Well, that's right, Neil Schon was in Santana's band.
Simultaneously progressive, heavy, and heartfelt in his playing style, Carlos Santana has never been one to sit still. After his decades of success, the turn of the millennium saw the artist further innovate for his multi-platinum Knopfler. We've all heard the phrase less is more, but Dire Straits' main man, Mark Knopfler, took that idea one step further with his light and sensitive touch. Knopfler is a finger player similar to Fleetwood Mac's Lindsey Buckingham, and tends to shun heavy riffs and showboating.
That solo is pretty rad. So much so Kirk Hammett liked it a lot.
Instead, Knopfler uses a tasteful and melodic approach to weave a tapestry of emotion and feeling within each note and phrase. For every up-tempo solo, like the famous one in Sultans of Swing, there are moments of quiet brilliance, such as the delicate intro to Romeo and Juliet. Or the driving main hook of Lady Writer. Knopfler also branched out into a solo career after Dire Straits, even composing a fantastic score for the classic 80s fantasy romance The Princess Bride.
Wow, never knew that. As you wish. That's cool.
As you wish was all he ever said.
Number 18, Billy Gibbons.
Alice Cooper says that Billy Gibbons is one of the
Billy
best guitar
Gibbons is
players
famous
out
for
there.
many reasons, from his pioneering psychedelic work with the Moving Sidewalks to the blues and southern rock royalty that is ZZ Top. Gibbons was also reportedly one of Jimi Hendrix's favorite guitar players, alongside Chicago's Terry Kath, and it's easy to see why. The man is an
Terry Kath was
under-the-radar
awesome,
ripper.
too.
Perhaps it's Gibbons' wealth of influences that make him such a versatile player,
Frank Beard, the drummer,
incorporating
doesn't have a beard.
everything from swamp blues and boogie woogie into ZZ Top's brand of riff-heavy rock and roll.
Headless guitars, man.
Or maybe it's how Gibbons and his crew embraced the synthesizer revolution of the 1980s with the Eliminator album, bringing us
That was a
smash
classic
hits
album.
like Legs and Got Me Under Pressure. The answer is all of the above. Billy Gibbons is the man. Number 17, Yngwie Malmsteen.
All right.
Okay, so remember how we were just talking about less being more? Throw that idea out the window for a moment, because that definitely does not
More
apply
is
to
more.
Sweden's Yngwie Malmsteen. That's because Malmsteen is all about the neoclassical shred style, eschewing subtlety for a more is
there
more
anything
approach that
else?
champions speed, technique, and precision. The man's early solo work after departing from the 80s metal band Steeler is deeply indebted to the sort of classical composition pioneered by bands like Deep Purple in the early 70s. Mixing up fantasy and romantic themes with guitar heroics that'll set your hair on fire. Malmsteen is in that special
Awesome.
masterclass of axemen. Think Steve Vai and Joe Satriani, whose fretboard skills are simply not of this world. Number 16, Prince. Prince is a legend
Prince
today
could
for his
play,
work in
man.
the world
That
of pop, rock,
While
and
My
funk
Guitar
fusion.
Gently Leaps is pretty badass.
But with all the Purple One's accomplishments, it's sometimes easy to forget the man's prowess as a guitar player.
That's killer. That's a Hohner guitar, too.
Just take a look at Prince's performance at the 2004 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, where he managed to outshine a stage full of icons with a performance that brought the house down. He was a walking masterclass, a man who truly played the guitar like it's an extension of himself, laying down
You guys
licks
wanna
and
play
solos
some
that seemed to run
basketball?
like electricity through his fingers. It didn't matter whether he was playing with the Revolution or on his own. Prince was a one-of-a-kind talent. Number 15, Dimebag Darrell. Cool. Heavy metal, like any other musical genre, is in a constant state of evolution, driven by inventive musicians pushing the limits.
Like X Hoarder.
Pantera were just such a catalyst for change in the 90s, a former hair metal act who embraced the power groove style developed by contemporaries X Hoarder and gave it their own unique spin. Pantera's
Okay,
own
now I'm
impact, however, was
impressed.
largely driven by Dimebag Darrell's
Wow.
explosive guitar.
I'm impressed. I really am. These people did some of their homework.
It was at once theatrical and yet tempered, with an undying desire to play as heavy as possible. Riffs were Darrell's game. Combining a
There's old
thrashy
Phil
sound
Baggins.
with deliberate phrasing, it had mosh pit drawing power. Sadly, the
Cool.
metal icon's career and life was cut short by an obsessed fan while Darrell was on stage in 2004. Number 14, Pete Townsend. style and substance. Both of these traits exemplify the playing of Who guitarist and co-founder Pete Townsend, who helped
Sean
define
Entwistle.
classic rock in the
Awesome bass
1960s
player.
and 70s. Townsend had the mark of a perfectionist, an attention to detail that makes his riffing feel deliberate and thoughtful, no matter how chaotic the performance. With his energetic stage presence, the guitarist simultaneously gave all young guitar players ideas while they were practicing in the mirror. Ever seen a local hotshot windmill their arm around while playing at your local pub? Yeah, they're
No.
mimicking Pete Townsend. More than that, however, Pete had the chops and songwriting prowess to back up his bombast,
Paul
making
Gilbert,
The Who one of the
dressed
best
up as
English
Pete
rock
Townsend
bands of
one time.
all time. Number 13, Brian May. There's
Nice.
a lot of work that goes into recording an album, but what if you want to venture into uncharted territory?
That's like the ultimate frilly shirt. Ingwe needs one.
Well, then you get someone like Brian May, a guitarist who isn't just happy to kick out awesome riffs, but wants to push the sonic barrier to the limit.
Dude played with a piece of change. That's a pick. That's crazy.
May's early approach to Queen
With a
mainly
homemade
plays
guitar.
with an epic heavy rock palette, but as years progressed,
Freddie Mercury,
Brian
one of
would
the
add
best singers
layers
of all
and
time,
layers of
hands
guitar
down.
tracks. This resulted in sonically rich Queen albums like A Night at the Opera and News of the World. Brian May is a technician, a melodic player that can also let loose with a surprising amount of grit when the situation calls.
All those harmonies are killer. Flash
His
Gordon.
guitar playing is truly the work of an artist. Number
Savior of
12,
the universe.
Frank Zappa. Genius or
Zappa,
madman?
right on.
Both words suit Frank Zappa, an anarchic sort of guitar player who couldn't ever be tied down to one style.
The power of pop music to corrupt and putrefy the minds of world youth are virtually limitless.
Jazz fusion, hard rock, and psych were all part of the package for this unstoppable composer.
Steve Vai
a
better
guitar
be
player
next.
with absolutely no limits to his talent. And that's sort of the beauty behind Zappa's recorded output. There's something for everybody. Want some heavy psych moves? Check out one of his groovier albums with the Mothers of Invention. Into something truly out there and trippy? Dive into his film score for 200 Motels or his twisted concept album, Joe's Garage.
Thought we was pretty good. Talked about keeping the band together and we figured that we should.
Sadly, Frank succumbed to prostate cancer in 1993. We can only guess what other craziness he might
Yeah, it
have
would have been
conjured
crazy
up.
to see what he did.
Number 11, Tony Iommi. Were there heavy guitar players before Tony Iommi? Sure.
Tony Iommi already wrote all the riffs, isn't that what they say?
But none crystallized the prototypical sound of heavy metal quite like this Black Sabbath co-founder. Legend has it this was due to an accident Tony had on his last day of work at a factory that resulted in the loss of 2 fingertips on his fretting
Dude
head.
was also in Jethro Tull.
As a result, Iommi had to press harder, thanks to handcrafted prosthetics changing his entire approach.
Down-tuned guitars, too.
Now Iommi was playing heavy, doomy, and down-tuned riffs that sounded birthed from some
Snowblind.
gothic horror movie. Meanwhile, his underrated solo work again stood out thanks to his light, slack strings and an approach that emphasized mood rather than flash. Said simply, before any metal band did anything, Iommi and Sabbath did everything.
There's a question. Sabbath with Dio or Sabbath with Ozzy?
Number 10, Ritchie Blackmore. If Tony Iommi is the godfather of heavy metal, then Deep Purple's Ritchie Blackmore was nipping right at his heels. Blackmore had a flashy, classically influenced style that was in stark contrast to the monolithic world of 1970s arena rock.
Pretty shredding for back in the day.
Deep Purple was a band rooted in psychedelia that embraced crazy fast tempos and indulgent solo runs, getting more extreme as the decade progressed. To uncover some of Blackmore's best work, listen to the Mark III lineup with future Whitesnake singer David Coverdale.
And Glenn Hughes.
The blazing lead guitar in Burn and the understated emotion present within Soldier of Fortune really epitomize Blackmore's range. Ritchie wouldn't stay stagnant with the hard rock world either, embracing melodic English folk years later with the project Blackmore's Night.
It's cool, I've heard that stuff, it's good. Some swashbuckling stuff.
B.B. King. What can we say about blues legend B.B. King that hasn't already been said?
And I can't even close my eyes. One of the greatest of all time.
It can be difficult to stand out in the crowded arena of bluesmen and women seeking to make their mark in a genre so rooted in tradition. The blues comes from deep within, and simplicity is the key to bearing your heart and soul to the audience.
Was the name of a woman that a bar fight started over, and I think like a barrel fell over
King
that had a fire in it
communicated
and
just
burned
as
the club
effectively
down.
using his
And her
trusted
name was
guitar
Lucille.
Lucille as he did when he sang classics like The Thrill Is Gone.
Thrill is gone. Thrill is gone.
His technique was smooth and seemed almost effortless as he glided across her strings to tell his
The
story.
greatest vibrato of all time.
There's raw feeling, honesty, and guts in B.B. King's playing, and that's just one part
His
of what
guitar
made
had
the
a
man so
fine-tuning
amazing.
tailpiece too. I remember seeing that when I first started playing guitar, and I thought that's pretty cool. ES
Number
335.
8, Randy Rhoads. Oh, what might have been. There's no denying that former Ozzy Osbourne and Quiet Riot guitarist Randy Rhoads achieved a lot in a comparatively short amount of time. Still, this young man was so talented that it's difficult not to imagine what more Rhoads could have done, had he not been lost in a tragic plane crash.
No more Ozzy.
Make no mistake, Rhoads inspired generations of guitar players in his wake, thanks to his perfectionist manner of mixing hard rock bombast with legit classical chops.
Question. Randy Rhoads or Eddie Van Halen? Let me know in the comments.
Want proof? Check out Laughing Gas with Quiet Riot.
I remember having that MP3 a long time ago and hearing that going, whoa.
Or anything off the
Revelation
two
Mother
full-length
Earth
albums
solo
that
was in
Rhoads
there.
recorded with Ozzy. He was an icon who may have been taken too soon, but his spirit lives on forever.
Randy Rhoads was my first guitar hero.
Number 7, Eric Clapton. Clapton
Okay,
is
Clapton.
God. This was the famous UK graffiti slogan that championed a
Beck,
brash young bloke
Ritchie
fresh on the scene.
Blackmore.
After forming Cream in 90, the transitional bands that was taking Britain's love of the blues and making it harder, heavier, and as a vehicle for a genre in transition, and would help make Eric Clapton a legitimate guitar hero. More classic stints would follow in Derek and the Dominoes, as well as a solo career. Although battles with drug addiction, a drunken anti-immigration outburst in 1976, and the tragic loss of his son had some complications on his career.
That's a great song.
If I saw you in heaven.
Still, there's no denying how influential
Heard it
Eric
on
Clapton
VH1
was
every
and
day.
continues to be for generations
time
of
ago.
young guitarists. 6, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Stevie Ray Vaughan played traditional down-home American blues. No more, no less.
Probably the best right-handed blues.
It was the way in which he approached the blues, however, that made him a legend. A blue-collar attack that was both approachable and mesmerizing. Vaughan could take the most basic 4-bar arrangement and turn it into a sustained symphony of held notes and triumphant licks.
Couldn't Stand the Weather is a great album.
With a basic drum and bass backbeat, Vaughan would figuratively set his fretboard
listened to
on
that
fire
every
with
day
songs like Texas
in the
Flood and
summertime when I was
Crossfire.
first learning how to play guitar. And it was awesome. His cover of Voodoo Child was sick.
Earning himself critical acclaim and fan adoration from around the world. Sadly, Stevie Ray was taken in a helicopter crash in 1990, robbing the blues and rock world of yet another shining star. Number 5, Keith Richards. Sometimes the best riffs are the simplest and most immediate.
Number 5. I don't know about that one. I mean, longevity,
Start
absolutely.
Me Up and I Can't Get No Satisfaction are two great examples.
Cockroaches and
they have
Keith
one great
Richards will inherit
guitarist
the
in
earth.
common as their co-writer, Keith Richards. Keith has that nebulous quality about him that just exudes a born rock star swagger.
Yeah, but playing music's not about being a rock star. It should make you
Maybe
on a
it's how
top
low
20
Richards
list.
sets his guitar, his voracious appetite for the good life, or those eminently hummable riffs. Keith just has it.
I guess that's
to say
it.
that Richards
right there.
isn't serious about rocking, of course, as the legions of Stones fanatics will tell you. After all, the Rolling Stones didn't get to become classic rock royalty by doing anything in half measures. Number 4, David
I didn't even know they
Gilmour.
could play in time. I agree with that one.
Pink Floyd was already turning heads with their formative brand of psychedelic rock before 1967, but the band gained a whole other dynamic
David
when
Gilmour
David
is
Gilmour
also a
joined in
better
December of
vocalist
that
than
year.
Roger Waters.
It was with Gilmour that Floyd
The only
would
white
record
dude
such
that could play the
genre-defining
blues,
albums
according to
as
B.B. King,
Animals,
was David
Metal,
Gilmour.
and Dark Side of the Moon. Gilmour wasn't just a sideman, however.
One of the best solos of all time, for sure.
And his influence grew until he actually took over the band when founder Roger Waters left in 1985. Though this divided the fan base, the albums after this were arguably even smoother, more melodic, and moving, thanks to David's amazing tone and technique. He is truly one of a kind.
A less is more player, for
Number
sure.
3, Eddie Van Halen. His were the fingers that launched 1,000 careers. The guitarist
That's
who,
true.
with one amazing instrumental, put every other band on notice. His name was Eddie Van Halen, the song was Eruption, and heavy rock was never the same.
Crazy picking technique. Dude could play
Every
black
hair
metal
metal
like no
band
other.
on the Sunset Strip attempted to ape Eddie's furious technique and stylistic flair, but no one ever did it like
David
Van
Lee
Halen.
Roth. That song was tracked on a Gibson
This
Flying
is
V, I
likely
think.
because of Eddie's classically based influences, an honest-to-goodness approach to music theory that lifted every Van Halen banger to a game-changing level. From Atomic Punk and Jamie's Crying to On Fire, Light Up the Sky, and Mean Street, EVH had the riffs,
Van Halen
the
1 was
style,
one of the
and
best
a
albums
band
of
of
all
stone
time.
cold killers backing
Fair
him up.
Warning's pretty good,
It was
too.
a perfect storm. Number 2, Jimmy Page. Critics of Jimmy Page have called him sloppy, and let's say enthusiastic about borrowing riffs from other bands. But have any of those people ever played their guitar with a cello bow? We think not.
It'll break your strings. One of these and it's over.
Criticisms aside, Page is one of the most influential guitar players to ever pick up the instrument. He possesses a wide array of influences that permeated the music of Led Zeppelin,
I wonder
from
who is
Eastern
going to be
scales
number
and
one.
melodies to bombastic heavy riffs that predated heavy metal. Page loved the blues and arguably rocked harder than anyone in his days, both on stage and after the show. There were very few performers who could outdo
Stairway's a
Jimmy
great
Page
tune,
in the live
classic, of
setting.
course.
In his prime, he was absolutely a rock star's rock star. Before we unveil our number one pick, here are some honorable mentions. Chuck Berry, for the duck walk and that boogie woogie.
Yeah. Rock and roll, I mean. Influenced a lot of people.
Robert Johnson, for allegedly selling his soul at the crossroads.
Death Clock. Crossroads. Great movie. Steve Vai.
Robert Fripp, for setting the progressive rock world on fire.
Yeah, awesome guitar player. Crazy stuff.
Paco de Lucia, for his unmatchable skill and technique. Django Reinhardt, for doing all this with just 2 fingers.
Great guitar player, kept him alive.
Eric Johnson, for all the faces he melted with Cliffs of Dover.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell.
Some
to
of the
get
honorable
notified about our
mentions
latest
should be on the
videos.
list over
You'll
the
have
people
the
that are on
option to
there.
be notified for
It's
occasional
interesting that
videos
they
or
did that.
all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Yeah, subscribe
Number
to my
1,
channel. I need
Jimi
it.
Hendrix.
Was there a doubt?
His career burned out far too quickly, but this rock legend quite simply revolutionized the electric guitar.
Jimmy rules.
Hendrix and his band, The Experience, were more than just a bluesy, psychedelic rock power group. They were a showcase to the progression of rock music as a whole.
It would be interesting to see
This was
where he
largely
would have
thanks
went
to
musically.
Hendrix's chops and stage presence, a hurricane of charisma that was far more than him setting his guitar on fire or playing with his teeth. There was just as much tastefulness to his playing as there was an intense, raw energy. This unstoppable force rightfully captivated anyone who was lucky enough to see the master at work.
Do you
That would've
agree
been
with
crazy
our picks? Let us know in the
to see
comments.
that
And
when that
hey,
was
if you're a
new.
fan of the song playing right now, be sure to check out the music video for it right here.
All right. I have a few bones to pick. Keith Richards being in the top 10 of the greatest guitar players of all time. Not even, dude. Like, ultimate respect to Keith Richards. I'm a Rolling Stones fan, but, you know, they wrote a lot of good songs. And there's a difference between, in my opinion, being a good guitar player and writing songs. And my biggest qualm with this list is the use of the term rock star to equate skill set. I think most of the people that are on that list that deserve to be on that list probably don't care about being a rock star. They probably want to be musicians. And I think that's the big deal. I mean, look at Alan Holdsworth's not on there, you know, and he definitely deserves to be there. Eric Johnson definitely deserves to be there. Paco de Lucia, Andreas Segovia. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But do I feel that that list was correct? No, but everything's subjective. I mean, they showed Pat Metheny. He wasn't on the list. They showed John Petrucci. He wasn't on the list. They showed Steve Vai and Joe Satriani. Not on the list. But you know, Chuck Berry should be on the list. I mean, literally. You know, Mark Knopfler is a great guitar player. Is he one of the best? Is he a better guitar player than Paco de Lucia? Not in my opinion. Um, it's tough to shoehorn a list of top 20 anything, but Jason Becker was not on that list. You know, Roy Clark. They didn't have any country guitar players, and Roy Clark was a multi instrumentalist. That dude was crazy good. Probably should have been on the list, in my opinion. But let me know what your top 20 list is, or what your top 5 are. Everything's subjective, but it's going to be interesting, and that's what we need to do a video on. Is who was better subjectively, whatever that means, between Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads. Ultimately, both awesome guitar players. I'm a huge Van Halen fan, huge Randy Rhoads fan. That's another classic battle. Another one is Dio with Sabbath, or Ozzy with Sabbath, And that would be another good battle. But anyway, let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments. Any sort of suggestions for reaction videos are always welcome. But again, I think that the equation between rock stardom and skill set is a big problem for me. Just because you're famous doesn't mean you're good. And what is success? So if you sell 1 million records, does that mean you're a better musician than somebody that sold, 5,000 or 5? I mean, look at it this way. There's people right now that are selling millions of records that don't have near the talent as people that are just doing music because they enjoy it. So success is not the arbiter, in my opinion, of skill, and that doesn't mean fastest or the most notes or the craziest stuff or the best songs or the most shredding stuff. It's all subjective, but one thing that's not subjective is if you're a rock star, that does not make you a talented musician. Does that mean you worked hard? Yes. Does it mean you're talented? Yes. But there is a huge difference, in my opinion, between being a rock star and being a musician. And I think anybody that devoted their life, or anybody that has devoted their life to the pursuit of in music or an instrument or anything like that, there's a huge difference. It's like we do things because we want to are going to be more profound than do things because I want to be noticed. Yeah, being noticed is a part of this whole thing. I mean, I'm sitting here doing a YouTube video, absolutely, and I like to play music and go on tours and yada, 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 and I appreciate everybody's support, but when I picked up a guitar, it wasn't to become a rock star, it was because I wanted to learn how to do something that was cool because I liked it. And I think that speaks more to people than, I want to be a rock star, so I started doing this. Yeah, it's at every, hair metal band ever, or, that's kind of like the state of music now, too, is like people, it's a lifestyle thing. And I think that the lifestyle thing is what they're selling when you see popular music. It's not so much the quality of the content, in my opinion, and that's for a lot of genres of music. It's the lifestyle that they're selling with it, and that whole lifestyle brand thing. Remember, Gibson now is a lifestyle brand. Fender is a lifestyle brand. See, there's a psychological deal going on here. But anyway, branding, advertisement, stuff like that. Anyway, I appreciate your guys' support. It means a lot. Please like and subscribe my videos. If you have any ideas for future content, let me know. I appreciate it. You guys have an awesome rest of your day. Right on.